Today on Clapped Out, we're going to install a cowl hood on a Ford. Done. I got a new GoPro and I can't tell if it's recording. Hey, there it is. This, how do you do that little, This is Brandon's 2003 Mustang GT. Might be an 02, doesn't really matter. 4.6 liter, 2-valve motor still underneath the hood with a 76 millimeter spoolie boy turbocharger. I like to say turbocharger like Robert Young from Force Performance. Shout out to those guys. Hey, we're giving away one of their turbos. This is a chance for you to win a wicked ass race proven turbocharger from Force Performance and Dynasty and Clapped Out, all collaborating together. Head over to the Clapped Out YouTube channel, and if you're watching this video, you're already there. So head down below, hit subscribe, and then find that video, leave a comment, and tell us which box of yours you're actually going to put that thing on, and you could possibly win a turbocharger for First Performance and Dynasty and Clapped Out. But back to the nature at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'm going to let them understand. From a young G's perspective. Hashtag Snoop Dogg. This is the car that Brandon brought to me and said, please sir, this thing. And it we have. Kind of put a little asterisk next to that because it's gonna come around full circle at the end of this because it got so freshly set up here. This will all make sense at the end, I promise. So Brandon brought me this car. Initially the deal was we're gonna do a 3-pedal delete on the thing, so we're gonna put an automatic in it, 4R70W full manual valve body. We're gonna put some bitchin' new wheels and rolling tires under the thing. We're gonna put an 8.8 out of my car underneath the back end of it, and then we're gonna put these badass bare brakes on the thing, Viking suspension all the way around, full UPR products out back. Basically we took everything from the chassis of this car, copy paste onto this, and it's awesome. And then, as most things do in the high performance world, shit snowballed. Brandon said, you know what, since you was here, let's go ahead and throw in the Holley Terminator X system, as well as a whole bunch of other goodies. It's a really, really nicely put together car because I'm the guy who did it. But here we are. Project complete. Or is it? Let's go to the overview first. Let's start at the back. From the back, we have moved the battery to the trunk. Yes, we still need to get a sealed battery box, but the battery is now secured into the trunk. The Holley system is wired direct to the battery, all custom made cables. This is single-aught welding cable from a welding supply store up the road from my house here. The battery disconnect here is a solid state 200 amp relay. This is triggered by a switch that is on the dash. Now, I know what you're thinking. That is not how the NHRA rules say it has to be ran, and you would be very correct. However, Brandon does not plan on racing in any NHRA sanctioned events, let alone sanctioned tracks. So we kind of put our own creative twist on it. He wanted to be able to shut the car off himself from inside the car. As you can see, the roll bar, it's a 6-point cage, and he's taken safety seriously, but not necessarily per the rule book in most cases. Look, there's guys out there running 7 seconds in GTRs with jeans and a t-shirt on. So leave your bullshit in the comments. Other things going on back here. The power right here, this big fuse holder, this is delivering power to power. 2 things, well actually 3. One is 2 fuel pumps. This is an 80 amp relay that powers both pumps. It's got 2 450 pumps in the tank. This car runs on E85. The other one is powering this Viair onboard air system. Little compressor over here pumps this bitch up to about 120 psi. The regulator puts out 65 psi. I can fill up tires if I need to at the track. And where does this little guy go? I'm glad you asked, person who sounds just like me. That is supplying us with compressed air in order to manage our boost. We're running a dome control strategy via the Holley Terminator X system to apply pressure to the top of the dome. That way, as I talked about in the last video, we can run a very small spring, knock its dick in the dirt for traction purposes, and then bring all the boost in after the fact. Continuing this back to front movement, which is much the same direction as Logan wipes, inside of the car here, I kept it as sanitary as possible. I wanted to conceal the fact that this thing had aftermarket anything as much as possible. You know what I mean? I didn't want a whole bunch of gauges on the thing. I still got to get a pillar over there, but I didn't want a ton of gauges hanging out and looking just super gaudy and tacky. So I wanted to keep this thing extremely sanitary and as bare bones as possible and as factory looking as possible. So with that in mind, all the wiring for the ECU, the custom input and output harness that I made for it, and the ECU itself is basically all hidden under the seat and under the carpet. If you look down here, underneath the passenger's nutsack is where the ECU is mounted to the bottom of this Team Z Kirky seat. Underneath the carpet here is where all the wiring harness and inputs and outputs and all that stuff are laying down. The coil drivers for the 4.6 are mounted over here as well. Everything is ran under the carpet, super clean, super sanitary. You can see we kind of redundant dashes going on here. I retained the 3.5-inch touchscreen display from the Terminator, despite the fact that we have that 6.8-inch Pro Dash over there, because with this, you can still data log direct to the SD card. God, my hands are filthy. And that'll allow you to take the SD card out, slip it into a laptop, hook the laptop up to the ECU, and make any tuning changes after a run. Yes, you can have all this stuff functioning at the same time. That dash, as well as the USB, all on the CAN network, all working seamlessly in conjunction with one another. Other things we got going on in here, controlling the transmission is this Hurst quarter-stick shifter. It is a 3-speed version. The reason it's a 3-speed version is because the 4R70W transmission has electronically controlled 4th gear, as well as the lockup. This has a triple disc lockup converter inside of the thing. So when you get on the highway, you just flip those 2 switches and you're cruising. The other switch over here is the trans brake arming, because you obviously don't want to inadvertently hit the button on the steering wheel while you're rolling down the road. So you have to have a actual thought and intention behind racing, and you have to flip that switch in order for the trans brake to be active. And the last button over here is the switch for this solid state relay battery kill located in the trunk. And I didn't hook up the red light because I don't think Brandon wants to drive around with that red light screaming in his face the entire time. Extremely clean, extremely sanitary inside of here. I'm super stoked on how this came out. Like, this is the polar opposite of how my car looks inside, and I think it came out very, very well. Case and point. Now, the car is basically untuned. This is going through the wizard. See? The car is essentially untuned, and I'm glad it did that because that leads me to my next talking point here. I just went through the touchscreen, the wizard, and set up the tune for this car, then hooked the laptop up to it and did a few things on the drop down, like tell it has a 4-bar map sensor, and then also mapped out all the inputs and outputs. And that is where I made this next discovery about the uniqueness of a Ford motor. And by uniqueness, I mean tremendous pain in the ass. The idle air control motor, or control valve, on a Ford is a 2-wire deal. It's a pulse width modulated system, meaning it just basically applies electricity to vibrate the valve back and forth, open, close, open, close, open, close, to help you regulate the idle. Now, that's fine. That's all well and good. The problem that we have is that because of the type of idle air control motor it is, requires one of your 4 outputs. And if you know anything about Terminator X, you're kind of limited. That's the draw, because it's got a low price. The limitation is not the draw, but the low price. The low price point means, can we talk about why my neighbors, it's February, and they still have Christmas lights up? Where were we? So the low price point is the draw for the Terminator X. With that low price point comes limited capability. Being that this is a turbo car with an automatic and a trans brake and boost control and an electronic fan, I need all the inputs and outputs on this thing. I can't afford to give up an output to run the idle air control motor. So we got some choices. Number one, fuck it, don't run it. You can treat it like an old carbureted car with no choke. You start it up, give it a little throttle. Once it gets some heat in the motor, chances are it'll be fine. Case in point, see? It's fine now. There you go. That's fine. It'll idle all day like that. But say you're at the track, you come out of the burnout box, you chop the throttle, and the car stalls. And then you're sitting there cranking and cranking and cranking. Now it's loaded up on fuel, and it's a pain in the ass. It's super embarrassing. This is a street car. We want street ability. So how are we gonna fix that? Just like this. If I can't put an LS motor in this damn car, I'm gonna put some LS parts on it. This is an idle air control valve off of an LS. This is a 4-wire deal. Now, I know what you're thinking. You just told me you don't have enough room for that 2-wire deal. How are you gonna put 4 on it? Well, I'll feed you baby birds. This is a 4-conductor cable, okay? It's got 4 20-gauge wires inside of it, which should be plenty thick enough to run an idle air control motor. On the back of these ECUs down here, I don't know if you can see that or not, the GM pinouts are plugged. The 4 ports for a GM idle air control motor are plugged off, so you can drop one in there and pin it. Remember, these ECUs are not engine specific. The harnesses are. The ECU itself does not give a shit what motor it's running. It has no idea if it's a Dodge, Chevy, LS, whatever. So when you tell it what kind of idle air control valve it has, it doesn't care what it's actually powering. So there you go. We're going to put a GM LS1 idle air control valve on here. I have an adapter coming from Edelbrock that will bolt it right onto this plenum, and we're gonna wire it for the 4-pin connector. So literally connect 4 pins to the ECU, run that cable out here, connect the 4 pins to the idle air control motor, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. Now you have the ultimate street ability, and I can sleep well at night knowing that I finally was able to swap an LS part into Brandon's Mustang. And that's it. Head over to clappedout.com/store, get yourself some merch if we have any up there. I don't know if there's anything even left besides stickers right now. More t-shirts are coming. If you order hoodies, those are on the way too, I promise. Head over to anywhere you download podcasts and listen to our podcast, the Clapped Out Podcast. Make sure you spell it the way we spell it, because there's a couple of dudes out there that think they can creep in our territory. I got news for you. You can't. Sounds pretty ominous and threatening.